Hi, thank you for tuning in. Today I'm going to be teaching you all how to make a sock monkey out of just some socks that you can get from pretty much anywhere. I tend to get mine from Dollar Tree, but yeah, it's a fairly simple project and let's get into it. So here is what you're going to need. You're going to need some socks that are a little taller than ankle high, some scissors, a needle and thread, although you can also use a sewing machine if you would like and know how. A square of either foam or felt. I prefer felt, although I used foam this time since that's what I had at home. 2 buttons and some polyfill. So first things first, we need to go ahead and cut those socks. We'll go ahead and just start with one. And what we need to do is we need to cut this little red piece for the mouth. You're going to want to leave a little bit of space around the red part, just so that when you sew it, it doesn't shrink that size. Next, what we're going to do is trim just right above that to create the arms. So we can put that bottom part to the side for now, and I'm going to shorten it a little bit because they're a little too long. And then we're also going to cut up and down to create those 2 arms. Now that we have those 2 arm pieces, we can go ahead and set those aside and bring that bottom piece back for our tail. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut from top to bottom as long as possible, and you want to make sure that it is not too thick, that way it's not too hard to stuff, so I try to do 2 fingers thick. From there, we're going to take that last bit to make the ears by making 2 half circles on the folded edge. Now that we have those ears, we can just trash that last little bit and set those ears aside with our tail and our arms. We can go ahead and grab that other sock now for the rest of our monkey. So this part is going to be the body, so I went ahead and folded it the other way so I have a seam to cut those legs with. You want to cut to about where the bottom will be. And so as you can see, those are pretty long, so I'm going to use the arms to just kind of measure how long I want those legs to be. I'm going to make it a little bigger than those arms, so right about where that soda cup is. So once you trim your body to the length that you want your legs, you're going to flip it over, and we're going to cut along that seam just a little bit away from what the bottom is. So I would say about 1 inch from the top, which is where that soda can is for me. It should look something like this once you've cut it. So at this point, we're going to put the body aside and work with the arms, the tail, and the ears. We're going to want to flip all of them inside out for the sewing portion. So if they are coming open easily, you can use some sewing needles to hold them closed, although I chose not to, and we're going to just sew all of those edges on all these pieces. So I personally like to start with the ears, and we're going to just go from the corner all the way around that ear. So once you start to get close to the edge, you're going to want to stop and turn that ear inside out. And so once you have it inside out, you want to just rub your fingers along it to smooth it out. And then we're going to take that last little bit and tuck it inwards to be able to sew that closed as well. Once we finish that ear, I like to fold the bottom in half to just make this cute little monkey ear shape, and I'm just going to sew along that bottom part to be able to hold it in place. And there we go, a little monkey ear, and I'll go ahead and do the other one off camera for you guys. So once we have those ears, we can set them aside and start working on our arms. Just like before, we're gonna fold those in half, and we'll start in the corner to sew along those edges. Not sure why my film cut out, but once you hit this corner, you can cut that off, and I like to leave the top little bit open so that we can go ahead and flip it inside out, just like we did with our ears. So it's a little harder to turn inside out, that's all right. And we're just going to smooth over the edges with our fingers to try to pull it all the way. Once you have your arm folded right side out, you are going to start to stuff it. So we're just going to pull some of that stuffing in, and just with my fingers, I'm working that stuffing down into the sock. Make sure you don't overstuff your arms or it'll start to stretch the seams and it won't look all that good. When you're done stuffing that sock, you're going to just fold the inside in and sew along that top portion to close off the arm. So your final seam will look something like this when you're done sewing it, and you want to go ahead and do that to both arms to get these nice chubby looking arms. Alrighty, so I went ahead and sewed the tail off film, although it's the same as the arms, just leaving the top open for stuffing. And a pro tip for when you're stuffing, it can be a little difficult due to how skinny it is, so I use a pencil to just kind of shove the stuffing a little deeper into the tail. So once you have your arms and tail complete, you can set those aside with your ears to work on the body. Same thing, you're going to flip it inside out to sew it, but when you sew those edges, you want to just go up until about an inch away from that crotch so that you're able to flip the body right side out at the end. You're going to start at the corner of the foot and sew along that edge just like on the arms. So once we have both sides sewn with about an inch from the top on both legs, we're going to turn our monkey right side out to stuff him. You're going to want to go ahead and stuff those legs first, and same thing as with the arms, you just want to make sure that they're not too chubby. Then we're going to proceed to stuffing the actual body. So you will go through the crotch area and you'll start by getting the stuffing into the head, making it nice and fluffy. If you want it to be a little bit harder when you hug him, add more stuffing. If you want it to be a little softer, put not so much stuffing. So once you have the body of your monkey stuffed, you're going to go back and start to sew him closed by just sewing up those legs. You want to kind of tuck the edges in, although they might have already rolled themselves a little bit, and just go back and forth trying to hide those edges as much as you possibly can. So once you get really close to this crotch area, you really want to try to hold the two sides of the leg together as much as you can and make your stitches really small to try to hide that thread as much as possible in your stitches. So once you go all the way around, you'll get a nice little leg stitch for your monkey, and we will start to sew on our body parts. I personally recommend starting with the tail, and I try to line it up with the bottom of its bottom. When you're sewing any of the body parts, you want to go around it and sew around the first side and then the other side to properly attach it. So next I'm going to attach the ears, and you want to kind of see where you want to sew them. This soda cap was even on both sides, so that's where I sewed mine. So once you've sewn those ears on, you want to kind of balance where you're going to put the arms as well. So I tried to go for about an inch away from the ears, and so that's kind of where I'm placing them to just see where I want to sew them on the body. So once you have your ears, your arms, and your tail on, we're going to move on to the mouth. This part can be a little difficult, but don't worry, it's not too bad. So we're going to start by positioning it just kind of where you want. I try to put mine a little bit higher than between the arms and the ears, and you're going to tuck that gray part in that we had purposely left earlier. You'll start in one corner and you're just going to sew along the bottom to start. Try to kind of go with the curve that the mouth is creating for you, or else it will look very block shaped. So once you have the bottom of that mouth sewn on, you're going to take some stuffing and put it inside of the monkey's nose/mouth area to create a little bubble form. And once you have that stuffing in, you're going to tuck the gray on the top inwards and sew just along the round shape that the mouth creates for you. So once you have that mouth sewn on, you have your general monkey shape, and all you're missing are the eyes. So for the eyes, we'll take that foam square and buttons, and we're going to go ahead and fold the foam square in half to cut eyes that are the same shape. So I like to make them look like half of an oval. And once you have this general shape that you want, you can just trim the edges and then measure on the monkey. Mine are a little too big, so I'm actually going to trim them some more. So now that I have them to about the size that I want, I'm going to go ahead and measure them one more time to just kind of see where I want them. And I'm going to see where I want the buttons so that I can sew those to the foam as well. So now, just to attach those buttons to the foam, I'm going to poke a little hole to see where I want the button attached, and then we're just going to go from the back to the front and go through a couple of times. That way the majority of the thread is on the back of the eye. Once you have those buttons attached to the foam, you can go ahead and attach them to your monkey. A little disclaimer, I was trying to sew the eyes on, but I was having a lot of difficulty, so after a little while, I decided to cut the eyes off and began trying other options. Alrighty guys, this is the final product. I went ahead and hot glued those eyes on since I had foam and not felt. If I had felt, I probably would have gone ahead and sewn them like the rest of the monkey. But yeah, I hope you guys try this project at home, and thanks for watching. Bye!